Yeah, I mean,
listen.
they fired their coach this offseason.
Well, I was
Right.
about to get to that, but they
Yeah.
brought back the same team. Right.
Right.
This is the biggest concern I have is that, they've flown under the radar so far this summer, except for Giannis's comments, because they did not make any changes to the roster, but they have a new coach, same roster. And so I guess my concern is, okay, what's the new system going to look like? How long is it going to take them to develop the system, during the course of the season, get used to it? Because, I think we all agree they've got to do things a little bit differently, not just offensively, but defensively as well, because Brook is older and frankly Giannis is a little bit older and not as active as he was in previous years. You now have to deal with a slightly diminished Chris Middleton defensively. Drew Holiday's gotten older, right? Like, so it's an older roster, but new coach. And so, I worry about the learning curve there, Eric.
For sure. I mean, I think there's strong examples of success in the first year of a new head coach in the very recent NBA. You look at some of the teams that have either made deep runs or won a championship with a first year head coach. It's not impossible. This is a thing that does occur. And it's happened recently. So you don't have to, go digging through the archives to figure out, well, could it actually work with a first year coach? Yeah, it can. You have to have talent and you have to have those things in place. But I do agree ultimately. I think speaking to Seth's point here, I think as someone who covers the team, I can logically see, all right, this offseason, if you decide not to run it back and you let Chris Middleton walk, you don't just get free money to spend. That's not how the salary cap works. You wouldn't have had that money to spend and grab someone that is, if not Chris Middleton's caliber, close to Chris Middleton's caliber. If you let Brook Lopez walk, the same thing is true. You're not going to find another Brook Lopez. But just because I can logically see that running it back was the logical move, if you want to make moves for the future, that's going to have to come down the road once those guys are signed up for beyond this year and aren't free agents. I can logically see that. But I can understand, as Seth said, why a player might not feel that way. Why, if you're on the team, you're thinking, we're just standing still. Nothing new has changed. And yes, the coach has changed, so the systems will be different. And we'll kind of see how all that plays out coming up here in a month once we get into the preseason and see kind of some of that on the floor. I can understand why it feels like, you're just running back the same thing over and over again, and it hasn't worked the last 2 years. So why is it magically going to be the thing that worked, in 2021? In how is that going to work in 2024? Like I can understand the logic behind all of it. So I do think, this is the start of the process of that next contract. Giannis is signed up for this year, next year, and then we're talking about a player option in the year after that. So that's going into the 25-26 season. So in reality, the Bucks have a little bit more time, but this is the start of these conversations. This is kind of how it all rolls out, right? Like it doesn't immediately become a situation where they have to sign him to a new contract. It starts with, well, if things aren't good enough, then he's going to have to think about his future. And, I think in the past there was, hints at it or, things said where it's like, oh, you got to be thinking about a championship. And then the part about leaving was left unsaid. This is, the first time that Giannis said it in that interview in the New York Times. He put it out there that, okay, if you're not doing those things, I could leave or I might not stay in Milwaukee. So that is different and it's a little bit more forceful. But to me, the directive is still the same. Like this is always about winning championships and winning another one for Giannis.
I mean, I don't think it, given the realities of, okay, 2 years in a player option. So effectively 2 years. So effectively, from a team standpoint, either he is, committing next summer or you're trading him. Like that's kind of facts, right? So it's almost the things that were said almost didn't need to be said because like, okay, we're either a championship, like we're either in the minimum conference finals or NBA finals this year, or moves are going to be made. I mean, that's like,
yeah. I mean, I don't think anyone thought he was, because he is extension eligible this September. I don't think anyone thought he was signing that first kind of baby extension that you can do. Like, that's not how the top 5 guys in the league do business.
Yeah. Next year is sort of where it comes in.